Hello, welcome to FPL the Onion episode 16. I am Ash, and we're back to the semi-usual format this week of Nick and I doing this. So, how are we doing, Nick?
Good evening, Mr. Shlee. Yeah, very well, thanks. Shlee is hosting this week, so my video will be lagging again as per usual, given my upload speed. I wonder if Darren Bayless is updating his spreadsheet with my my upload speeds. But yeah, it's good to have you back, Shlee. I'm glad that you had a nice break, but we missed you.
Yeah, thanks. It is nice to be back for sure. But yeah, thanks very much to Tom and Ali for stepping in last week and doing a couple of very interesting episodes. We were chatting about those just beforehand. Yeah, they were really, really good. I haven't looked at the latest view figures, but we were mentioning the F-bombs that turned down the views on Ali's very interesting episode, but we need to sort that out because that was really good.
Yeah, and that was my bad, I guess. Ali had a go at me afterwards for not telling him about the fact that he probably couldn't swear like he normally does. I mean, he is a Scot, and he was probably drinking whiskey before we recorded. But what I'll try and do is I'll try and edit it and just keep in the ground hopping stuff and kind of re-upload it or put it on a podcast, and then re-release it, kind of redux of Ali on there.
Yeah, no, that was good. And yeah, getting out 2 in a week was good. But yes, I am back feeling quite refreshed from a week off, so that's good. Let's go back to the normal in jokes. The league code, Nick, do you have that at all?
0NPH6D. So yeah, I think I've kind of pulled away a little bit at the top.
You have 50 points I've got noted here that Paddy Paz behind now. I don't think it was this week. I think last week he must have had a poor week, or she. So
yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think it was my Ronaldo captain though again that just that did for me. But yeah, good. Please do join the league. There's only 4 game weeks left, and if you do manage to, you could just add yourself into the league if you know that you've got more points than me, and I'll still send you a curly whirly in the post. So crack on, have at it.
Content listened to this week. Have you managed to digest too much?
Not an amazing amount actually so far this week. I know Black Box are recording now, I think. So looking forward to listening to that. And I think did the Wire come out this morning? I haven't actually checked that yet today.
I haven't actually checked the Wire. No, I did see that Black Box was streaming at the same time as us. So to nick their in joke, yeah, you might have heard of them, but they might be a bit more popular than us.
Yeah, but the I guess the relief for our audience is that we won't be able to just say everything that they've said because we haven't listened to it yet. But I did listen to Planet FPL yesterday. That was good, and I've listened to a few of Andy's videos as well. So I've definitely got some material to sprout out tonight.
Yeah, I listened to quite a bit. Listened to all the above average FPL, Planet FPL. Yep. Listen to, because I think captaincy is massive this week, and we'll definitely get onto that. The scout captaincy video with Joe and who was on it.
Wasn't it Adam?
No, I can't remember. Anyway, that was good. And then Gianni's video on Scout as well, the separate one he does with Az. And yeah, one of Andy's videos. So yeah, I've consumed quite a bit this week. Thoroughly back in it, which is amazing what a couple of green arrows can do. Which we'll come on to, albeit small, which has felt quite nice the last couple of weeks.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm sure sometimes we kind of talk about the things that have been notable, but I think we'll get to it throughout the content, won't we?
Yep. Okay, so obviously all of this is, as we stand at the moment, we're recording on Wednesday night, so that is during the Liverpool-Villarreal game, which I think is 0-0 at half-time. Disappointing, but tomorrow's obviously the big one, Man U Chelsea. Fixtures on the right here don't reflect the 0-0 Palace game on the Monday, but yeah, so I am actually going first this week for a change, being ahead of you. We've both got 4 fixtures left to go, but I am on 53 with no hit. Havertz so far doing nothing as captain. Big notable point scorers: Robertson, Saka, Thiago Silva coming in with a 7 was nice. Weghorst is coming off the bench with 5. But yeah, it's all really down to what happens tomorrow. If James, Silva and Havertz all start and do something, it'll be great. But if James is still injured, Silva's rotated, and Mount explodes and Havertz doesn't, I'll be probably getting a red arrow.
When did you because I checked your score the other day, and obviously when Robertson did what he did, because I've been delighted to have Robertson for as long as I've had him. When did you did you have Robertson and Trent for a time, or did you go from Trent to Robert?
It was that that deadline I was up a hill, as if everyone's going to know what that is. But when the week we found out that Trent was benched for Gomez at right back, I had already done 2 free transfers, and I did James in, thinking that there's no way I can ignore him anymore because he was just back from injury again, and I was fearful of that 18 points. So I did I did someone to James, and then I additionally did at deadline Trent to Robertson, because that's right, I wanted to get Liverpool cover and not miss what I thought was an easy fixture that week. So that's when I swapped. So it was way after you, so I've not been on him too long, but your video's gone, so I'll pop your picture on for a bit. But yeah, that 15 compared to the 5 was a pretty big swing this week. Oh no, you've gone. Come back. So anyway, let's just carry on chatting about my team. I had quite a few options last week at deadline, which I think Tom and Nick covered. Well, I thought I had 4 really. It was either to get Havertz in number 1 or Mount number 2. I can't remember who that was for. But anyway, I decided to go Havertz. I felt short term he was more explosive. I did want to captain someone from Chelsea with those double fixtures. I think he had the better stats, XGI, non-penalty, than the Mount, even though Mount's returns recently for points have been better. So it was a bit of a risk, but I felt in my rank it was better to maybe go with a high explosive, more differential option than a more safe Mount option. By all accounts, it sounds like Mount was a lot better in that fixture. Who were they playing before? Sorry. Yeah, West Ham. Sorry, of course, that narrow 1-0 win. So let's see if that works out. But the other option, which Tom and Nick did discuss on the episode last week, was a hit to do Kulusevski and Weghorst out to the same 2 options, Havertz or Mount, for Kulusevski instead. But that would have lost Weghorst, which I did in the end hopefully make the right decision on that one, in that the hit was wrong. Obviously that would have been a -4, but also wouldn't be getting Weghorst's points off the bench. And I did know that I would be probably first benching him for the rest of the season because his fixtures aren't too bad. Although obviously Burnley's form before this week wasn't great. But the fact now they've won, and they've got their teeth into this relegation scrap, and Weghorst suddenly looks brilliant with Vidra up front. I think there's maybe some points for Weghorst, so I'm quite happy to have him. Right, sorry, let's just see what Nick's said on WhatsApp here. Lost you there. I think I'm still in the room. Okay, can't see him, so not sure what's going on here. Sorry, I'll have to give me a minute to see if I can get him back. Okay, see if Nick comes back soon. But yeah, I think, what was it, a couple of weeks ago since I was on this, I think I went from 155k-ish to, on my bench boost, only gaining about 10k, which is mega disappointing. But that was that the week with the Fernandes and Ronaldo swing. But on the same week, like, Nick had an absolute stormer and sort of quartered his rank or something down from 5k to like 1.5k or something. So yeah, although I've had 2 green arrows, they've been pretty small. But at the end of the day, after I've had about 7 red arrows in 8 game weeks, I can't complain too much that I seem to be moving in the right direction a little bit. Okay, I'll start talking about Nick's team. So he took a 4-point hit, so he's on 54 -4. We've only actually got 4 players different between us in our team, which is quite amusing. He's got Dewsbury, Hall, White, Ronaldo, and Dubravka. I've got different people in those spots, but the rest of the team is the same. So he also captained Havertz. He bought in Mount as well for a 4-point hit. That was for Son and Martinelli, which, I mean, the fact that Son and Martinelli both blanked, that does seem like a really smart move at the moment. If he gets any returns from those two last night to tomorrow night, he'll be quids in on that. He's also getting Weghorst off his bench, so that again seems like a good first bench option. The rotation this week was a real nightmare. Like Cher not getting a game, James at the moment obviously not getting any minutes. I think I had another blanker in my team. Chris Wood. So I'm going to get Martinelli's one off the bench. So yeah, fair amount of rotation for this week. Right, sorry, let's just see what Nick is WhatsApping here, and we'll try and cut this out when we get some time tomorrow. Might need a new room. Okay, right, sorry, I'm going to have to just try and do something here.
Hello again.
Yeah, can see and hear you.
Sorry, mate. That was very strange.
That's right. Can you see my screen still?
No, I can't see your screen. I can see your orange circle. That was really weird because I was I didn't drop out. It didn't like tell me that I dropped out. It just made the noise as if you'd left. And then when you said I tried waiting around for a bit, and then when I left, came back in, I was like coming back into the room on my own. So it's almost like our room divided into two. Yeah.
When you speak, hang on a minute, no. Okay, when I'm speaking, it's okay. I think that was weird. It looked like you were coming through as my audio.
Yeah, you're sharing your Jitsi screen with me rather than the OBS screen.
Oh, right, sorry.
So I don't know whether that has anything to do with the audio.
No, it shouldn't do. Okay. Well, I think we'll carry on. Yeah. Anyway, we were just talking about. I was just talking about your game week. You're having a pretty decent rank recovery in the last few weeks. You've gone from like 5k to 1.2 now, right?
Yeah, I still can't see your screen, Shlee, so I can't see what you're talking about. But yeah, I've had a great week last week. Obviously, the bench boost wasn't amazing, but yeah, obviously that's when I went down from like 5k or 4.5k down to 1k again or around there. And then obviously this is looking like a slight red arrow at the moment, but I've got Weghorst coming off the bench for Cher, and so it's actually a slight green arrow, which is good. But it's even when we were looking at your team, it's just slightly unfortunate things like obviously James has been a bit of a disaster since I brought him in. Hasn't really got any points at all. I don't think Trent hasn't hurt me too badly, and I needed the money to actually to also bring in Cancelo, and he's been okay. But obviously, if I'd brought in Cancelo and Laporte instead, it all looks like hindsight now, but I'm pretty sure I'd be comfortably inside the top 1k. Things like Cher, just a surprise benching against Norwich. I don't think there was any kind of reason for it, but that would have been a nice clean sheet. Hopefully some bonus as well, but that's kind of it now. I don't think he's gonna be in my first team for the rest of the season, so that was a bit of a shame. But very nice to get another Weghorst return. And since Sean Dyche has gone, I think his stats have changed massively. So he's actually still looking like quite a good option. Although I might potentially be getting rid of him this week. I'll have to have a look at some options. But the plan was when he was being a disgrace in our team. So I was going to kind of take a lot of the money out of that position and use it elsewhere. But now I think actually he's not a terrible option moving forward. So yeah, a bit of a mixed week. And Saka's been absolutely brilliant for me. So is Robertson. Ronaldo getting a return was nice, although again, I don't know why he didn't take the penalty. That would have been mega return if he'd done that. But and then Havertz captain at the moment. I think there's just so much left. It's so complex this week at this point, for game week 35. But I think I just need to wait for that Man United Chelsea game, because I'll get so much more information out of that before I can actually formulate any kind of solid plans for 35. I think.
Yeah, totally agree with I'm not making any transfers till like Friday night, looking at the information we're going to get on Thursday. Ronaldo, I think he gave the penalty to Fernandes, didn't he?
Yeah, and I'm not sure why. I think Ralph Rangnick afterwards said that he didn't want to take it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was going on, but strange given that he'd already scored. You'd think that he would have wanted the penalty as well, but
a week for the failures of the penalty hoppers with Jorginho as well. It's pretty crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously if Jorginho hadn't been on the pitch, I'm guessing maybe Mount would have taken that penalty as well. So
yeah, I think I got away with that a little bit.
Bit unfortunate. Dewsbury Hall is kind of it's great that he's a cheap option. I don't think he should really be in my team. He's not doing much now after his, he had a good return a few weeks ago, and I brought him in to save a bit of money and to allow other things to happen. But he probably shouldn't really be in my team, because I don't see he's going to be getting massive returns at any point.
Yeah, he's good enabler for the price, isn't he? But you're saying about taking money out of some of those positions. I was mentioning while you were away the fact that I'm glad at the moment I didn't downgrade Weghorst to Gelhardt or something. But you've got, if James doesn't appear, 2 auto subs coming in. If James doesn't appear on my team, I've got 3 coming in. So, and it doesn't seem to be due to COVID. It's just rotation and other things. And a bit unlucky with Howe doing it big time, and I've got Wood, so that's what caused it for me. But I think I might have to just ride with a kind of expensive bench, but at least having a few options each week might be quite handy. Just means you can't have as many premiums.
Yeah, it's lucky we're not on the FPL wire right now, actually, because they all would have been cracking up, because you did just say I've got Wood and moved on very quickly without paying it any attention. But no, late riser would have been dying at that. It doesn't matter how many times they make that joke. It kills them every time. I love it. Zoffar's cheeky laugh. But no, you're right. I'm relieved that I didn't take. I was going to downgrade Weghorst a couple of weeks ago, and just thought I'll give him one more week after Dyche got sacked. I'll just give him one more week, and obviously he's come good with a couple of returns. And at the moment, he is the difference for me between a red and a green, because when he subs in at the moment, I'll be on a slight green arrow. So yeah, I agree. It's always nice to have. It is always nice to have bench options and people who can come in, and it might certainly save my bacon a few times this season. I remember particularly Conor Gallagher coming off the bench when he was playing City, and I thought there's no way he's getting anything against City, and he ended up getting a goal and assist, and that was absolutely massive when he came off the bench for me. You probably remember that one, Shlee. Probably a fond memory for you.
Sorry, I was getting a bit distracted there, so we'll just move on. I'll pretend I wasn't get distracted, but I was half distracted by Liverpool being 2-0 up, and I'm just a bit worried that our audio is a bit weird. It's like something's like leaking into my audio, because even though I'm dead quiet, it's showing that it's sometimes saying stuff, so it's a little bit strange.
Actually, while we were paused, the Conor Gallagher anecdote that he conveniently missed, or pretended to miss, and he's now agreed that was incredibly annoying.
You won't let anything go. If I don't hear it, you got to set me straight. But 5 episodes ago, and I was pouring my heart out. You don't hear it, and we just carry on.
Tom listened to that and he was just like, that was so depressing. Just Shlee telling about how, and I wasn't there because of internet issues. But
just seems to happen. Yeah. So maybe I should just keep pretending that I've got some issues when I just don't want to hear what you're saying.
Exactly. Sorry. What was that? What was that name?
Okay. Before the show, I was wondering actually if, although we're going to try and keep it short as usual, this might be like more a blooming 2-hour episode because I've got quite a few slides because I'm just so excited to share loads of stuff I found. But maybe with the technical issues as well, we might be a bit long, but we'll try and crack on. Right, top 10k stuff. This I just wanted to show because, as a few other pods have said, the free hit for anyone that did it this week and the wildcard to some extent was pretty brutal. I mean, it's quite funny hearing what Black Box have got to say because I guess you saw both Mark and Az were on it and they got rid of Saka and they went big on City with Sterling and none of them came in.
Did they? What I didn't understand about that, because I don't think I managed to catch the end of Black Box last week, but was this their final free hit that they were deciding to play now?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I think they just wanted, I mean, Mark was a bit more clear on why. I think he just wanted to go differential and go for a big rank game, and he thought the City big fixture this week and the Chelsea double was a good chance to do it.
Well, but then thinking that he would have loads of doublers for 36 anyway. But what about 37? Is he just looked at 37 teams and thought, I don't like them?
I think so, yeah. He didn't really, as far as I remember, go into that as to would free hit not be better for 37. He put it this way, he certainly didn't put my model on that's got 3 revisions and mathematically tell why you should do that. But yeah, I did think that was a bit strange. I mean, it could have obviously come in if Sterling had done what Jesus had done, then happy days.
Yeah, but I guess I should have remembered that it was Az's second free hit because he did have that almost not surprising
like 60 point or something swing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but playing that free hit in, I think was it 27 or 29 or something, but he played it when other people weren't playing it, and it worked really, really well for him. So maybe he just thought, well, that went really well, so I'll do that again. But I just don't think it was quite the same opportunity, and it has been brutal, hasn't it?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so I mean, on the right is the top 10k average no chip game week is 49. Say wildcard is only 5 points ahead on 4 points ahead on 53, but free hit is below both of those on 44 at the moment. So unless Chelsea smash it tomorrow, it probably is going to be about the same.
Yeah, surprisingly, the bench boost is doing well, although I guess when it's a much smaller sample size, I guess a few big scores in there will really bump the average up.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a weird one to bench boost, isn't it? That'll be wildcard quite recently, I guess, but there's been a lot of benchings this week, so I'd be surprised if any bench boosters have got 15 players out. But you're right, that is quite 12 points above the no chip value.
But it's super low. Is that just the top 10? Yes, top 10k. So obviously 0.14% in the top 10k is like what, 100 people or something. So
something like that, yeah. So it's not too many. And on the left is sort of just the points this week, which Salah was the only person over 100% EO, only 6 points, and that's staying. But obviously depends what Mount and Havertz are going to do. But it was quite a satisfying week looking down and thinking on the double digits. We've got them all here except for Alonso, who wasn't on my radar at all. So yeah, so happy to have that Robertson goal.
Yeah, and my maths is horrendous, isn't it? Because 0.1% is actually only 10 people out of 10k, isn't it? So it's a very, very small. I'm
going to pretend to try and do it now. I think my maths is normally pretty good, but above average FPL, that whoever hosts it, I've forgotten his name, he's absolutely on it with those, and he's like, oh yeah, that equals so many in the top 10k, but I haven't got it on the tip of my tongue. So
no, I think it is. I guess unless I'm making another fool of myself, I think it is around 10 people, 14 people.
14 people. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
what was it something like, I seemed 14 in my head as well for the number of people that own Jesus in the top 10k.
Is it
something really small? And I think I'm butchering his pronunciation. It's a bit annoying because I think one person triple captained Guimaraes, which I think is the correct pronunciation.
Guimaraes, wow.
Because everyone's just been saying Guimaraes or whatever, haven't they? And I was like, I'm just going to look up what that is. I think it's Guimaraes. But
I think you're probably right. Is he Portuguese or is he Brazilian?
I'm not sure actually.
Because I think Fernandes is something like Fernandes or something.
Yeah. If you ask him what his pronunciation is, he says what you've just said. But yeah, everyone just butchered it to Fernandes, which I think is a bit more fair enough. Like that seems to be so set in everyone's ways. But yeah, Thought I'd try and go early on
The funniest one of those that I've ever heard. It's almost like the reverse. Is that? Do you remember the Liverpool defender Sebastian Coates?
Yeah, yeah.
So his great grandfather or his grandfather was actually English and was called something like John Coates. But because he moved to, I think he was either Uruguayan or Argentinian, but because he moved to South America and set up there, his grandson was then deemed destined to be called Coates rather than Coates.
No way.
It's just one of those, isn't it? Where obviously, if he came to the Premiership and they said, "How do you pronounce your name?" It's like it's Coates, and they're like, "Is it? Are you Uruguayan or something?" It's just classic reverse.
Nice, good factoid.
There you go.
I've got two charts here from Tedtalksfpl, which I thought was quite interesting, which sort of summarises just a few things I'm thinking about with defenders. The fact that Trent and Robbo have got 10 clean sheets in 15 games, and they've got attacking potential, and City have got this great run. So this one on the y-axis has got a number of double-digit returns. I'm getting this in my head's a bit tricky on a slow night. So Salah is the most explosive, I guess, and then you also want to be towards the right, which is the number of blanks you have when starting.
Yeah, because it's a reverse axis, so it's low on the right and high on the left.
Yeah. So Salah and Trent are way out in front according to this. Loads of double-digit returns, and they rarely blank when they start.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Kane's interesting, quite a few double-digit returns, but he also tends to blank a lot. So he's kind of, I suppose a bit like Reece James in that respect. He's not actually on the chart. He's either 18 points or he's 2 or something.
No, it's a really cool chart, isn't it?
Yeah. And then
I'm just trying to think who really stands out in there.
Kulusevski's interesting. Rarely blanks, but also doesn't get. That kind of makes sense, doesn't he? He's very much a 6, 7, 8 point merchant.
Yeah.
Which is one of the problems I've got with kind of owning him.
Really
Pukki's sort of at the rough end of this. Lots of blanks when he starts and rarely gets double digits. Again, he's sort of a 5, 6, 7 point merchant when he does get them.
And Fernandes there with his, he obviously had his, you can almost remember the hauls he's had this season, can't you? He obviously had Leeds on the opening day.
Yeah.
He had that double, the early double in, what was it,
21 or
24, 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, actually has had a very, very poor season outside of those hauls.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other one, which is weird because it then highlights another player way out in front, Robertson, which is he gets a return percentage-wise a high amount of times when starting. And that's the same as the other chart, but then a double-digit haul 40% of the time. Trent's also out there. De Bruyne's interesting because he's kind
what's
of
the difference then? What's the difference between? I guess it is a subtle difference, but this is at least a return when starting, and the other one is.
The other one was double-digit haul on that axis as well, but a number rather than a percent.
Blanks, wasn't it?
So I guess one of them takes into account how much they've started. So Reece James, I don't know, because he's not started that much.
Yeah.
One of them would hinder him on this chart. I mean, I'm not even sure if he's on this one.
He's not on the first one, no.
No, he's not on this one either.
He's not on either. Not that one either.
Anyway, people can look at this for an hour rather than us trying to do it. But it's funny how it just made me thought that I wish 10, 12 game weeks ago, as I said, I'd had double Liverpool defence because it just seems like such a no-brainer now. Just them trickling along with their 6s and okay, a couple of 2s, but then occasionally they're going to get 10 plus. But I think it's a bit late now. I think, not to spoiler alert about the defenders, but I don't think I'm looking to make more than one defensive transfer now all season. Maybe not any. Are you in the same boat?
Oh, it's so difficult, isn't it? Just to say, Shlee, I think I can hear like the fan on your laptop whirring. So I don't know whether you can disturb it and move it or something, but I can hear it clicking. So I don't know whether that's on the audio, but
right. I totally haven't changed anything, and it's not appearing on the little bars, so that's a bit weird.
Okay, maybe hopefully I can just hear it then. But apologies if that's annoying anyone. But I think the defender thing is really difficult because and again, touch wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, but I don't feel like I've been too badly punished by Trent since I took him out. Even though Reece James, Cancelo's been pretty steady. He's just got clean sheets. Really hasn't really got any returns outside of that. But Trent has, again, I think he's got maybe one assist. He got one assist, I think, in the City game. But outside of that, he hasn't really done anything. And obviously I've had Robertson, so he has been able to cover him pretty well. And Trent is, when I sold him, he was like 8 million for me when I was selling him. I was getting 8 million for him, and I was downgrading even to Cancelo. It was $1 million cheaper. That's huge, isn't it? So
yeah, you've made
as long as
1.5
Trent,
there basically.
what's that? Sorry,
You've made 1.5 there basically, haven't you? You've made a 0.5 on selling Trent at a profit, and then you've got Robertson or Cancelo, who's at least $1 million less. So it's quite powerful.
And yeah, and it's funny because obviously when Trent rises from 7.5 up to 8.5, and you don't really notice that happen, it's kind of in the moment when you sell him anyway, rather than thinking I've kind of made that. But you're right in terms of overall team value. But it's he could, in the last 4 game weeks, he could have a massive return, and that would really, really, really hurt me because he's still very highly owned. But the reason why I made that move was to hope that I could still cover him with, James and Cancelo, and then use the extra money. But yeah, in terms of whether I'm going to make any defender transfers, I don't know, because I feel like a few weeks ago everyone was talking about going back to big at the back, and yet I looked at my defense the other day, and all of a sudden I've got Cher and White as part of that back 5, and they're both on my bench, and I've all of a sudden I'm a back 3 again, and I'm tempted in an upcoming game week to play 3-4-3 again, which almost feels like
Wow.
Klopp going back to 4-4-2 or something. So not comparing myself to Klopp, obviously, but it just feels very, very reductive. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's the thing now. And the big defenders, with the likes of Reece James failing, Cancelo just being steady, even though he's 7 million, maybe that big at the back approach isn't gonna pay off in the last few game weeks. But I think Alonso coming back in and doing well, and Laporte being that kind of 3rd or 4th premium defensive option, and yet not quite being 6 million yet. Maybe there's still some value in those positions.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? But it probably would mean a hit. I think you're unlikely to do just a defensive move in a game week this week, which we'll come to again. Is it worth a hit? It's obviously got to pay back quite quickly. There are a lot of doubles coming up, fine, but it only looks, other than maybe Villa, that you're going to go to them or a big sort of 3-4 team, and they're obviously expensive.
Yeah, this was the thing, because my one potential move I'm looking at, and he is on this list. It took me a while to spot him just because of the colouring, but I am thinking of potentially downgrading. If James, for example, isn't even in the squad against Man United, I think he will be, because I think he's back in training, even though I think he was in training before the previous game, yet obviously wasn't even in the squad, which was quite surprising. But he's I do expect him to play against United. But if, for example, he breaks down again, he's not even there, I think I might move him to cash.
Yeah. Okay.
So
interesting. I really want Villa coverage, but I just think that's the second priority this week, and I'm not sure if I should bring in 2 priorities for a -4 this week.
I think it's been covered in a few pods that I've listened to. But if you are free hitting in 37, really you're missing out on a nice Norwich fixture this week, but it's not the ideal double for them next week. And they've obviously got the Liverpool game. I can see them just getting nothing in that game. Although somebody I think Andy raised a really interesting idea that maybe Gerrard will rest people against Liverpool. I mean, he's not going to do that from I hope to favour Liverpool point of view, but he might do it just to think, well, that game's a write-off, so I want my players to be firing in the other games. I doubt that very much. I think he's going to want to beat Liverpool, isn't he, to show them what he can do.
Yeah, but they are really flat, aren't they? And everyone's sort of talking. They keep throwing that they're only 3 or 4 points above Leeds, as if it's sort of quite scary. But I mean, Leeds are probably safe, and then Villa have also got 3 to 4 points. But I think it's just I don't know, trying to maybe make the relegation battle more exciting than it actually is. But yeah, true. If they lose the next 3, maybe they are in a bit of trouble. But this, I mean, just to broach Villa a little bit here, this is exactly how I felt before Watkins got his only double return of the season. I was about to bring him in, and funnily enough, it was against Norwich. I think it was about game week 23 or something. He got 12 points, and their form before that, I think he got like 1s and 2s and maybe 1-5. And I remember being tempted to bring him in, and I didn't. And Tom at work, I remember, did. He's a Villa fan, and I'm getting that feeling again now that maybe with a good fixture and doubles and a free hit to get another double, he still might be worth it, but it would be for a hit.
And this is the thing, because I put together a draft today that involved Watkins as well, and it looks good, and I can get up to him from Weghorst. Obviously, they've got the Norwich fixture, but you know how we kind of develop these biases against players or for players who either do really well when they're in our teams or really badly when they're in our teams. And whenever I've brought Watkins in, he hasn't really done anything. He's got the odd goal here or there, but I haven't enjoyed owning him at any time. I won't like not owning him for that Norwich game because Norwich have got such a terrible defense. But as we've said, Villa have fallen off. Their form has fallen off a cliff. Like they've been absolutely awful the last 3-4 game weeks.
Yeah.
And so yes, it's the ultimate kind of fixtures versus form argument, isn't it? At such a crucial point in the season, if Coutinho and Watkins and Cash go off in that Norwich game, you're going to feel like you've missed the boat. Everybody, their prices are going to rise before 36, even though they've got Liverpool in that.
Yeah.
But I think the decision for me, or I'm just looking at that Norwich fixture because I'm planning on free hitting in 37 anyway. So if they look a good option for 37, I can bring 3 of them in for that week anyway. And they've got Man City on the final day, so I don't want too many Villa players in my squad because I'm going to want to bench them on that final day. I'll transfer them out, and obviously transfers are so precious now. We've only got 4 free transfers left, so.
And interestingly, Watkins here, I mean, that does reflect the one double digit he's got on this first chart we're back to now. He's, bottom left, which is not good. He's at 1 double digit haul and he's blanked 18 times when starting. And the other one, which is interesting because it also has Coutinho on there and Cash, 0, pretty much double digit hauls for Watkins, whereas Coutinho's got quite a few, Cash has got quite a few.
Yeah.
Cash actually has got a return and even more. So looking at that, it's Coutinho or Cash rather than Watkins.
Yeah, and I feel like people are, I was even doing it today, but I feel like people are going to try and get Watkins in and think, well, I've got Watkins, I don't need Coutinho. But I guess, again, Coutinho has not been in good form. And I think, again, Andy was saying that somebody, a Villa fan he was speaking to, said he's been playing wider.
Oh, right.
And so, maybe he's not as central to it. But we all know that Coutinho against Norwich, if he's given loads of space, he could easily get a double-digit haul against Norwich. But they haven't, I don't know what a Villa's last 3 or 4 fixtures been in terms of difficulty. I can't really recall, but they haven't done anything in those games, have they? So
yeah, agreed. I can't remember what I've sort of half figured out what this chart is good for. The Coutinho is not on the first chart because the x-axis is blanks when starting, but of course Coutinho's not had the chance to start many games. He's not been around for the whole thing, whereas this one's better because it reflects that he's only been here for a third of the season or whatever. So I think that's the difference.
Right. Yep.
But
that makes
the
sense.
fact that Robertson sort of pops out on one is quite interesting.
I can't. I mean, the thing with Coutinho, I can't easily get to him without losing a midfielder that I would be loath to lose. Whereas I can get to Watkins.
Yeah. He might be on pens as well, I think, Watkins, if Ings isn't on the pitch. He looked pretty lively in whatever game it was last week. I can't remember. Hang on, they played already, haven't they? In that Leicester game, yeah, that's it. It was quite a drab 0-0, but he was shooting on site quite a bit, I noticed in the 3-minute highlights.
The striker was really active in that 0-0. Leicester have had Leicester's defence has not been pulling up any trees, has it? And
true.
Yeah, Villa couldn't score against them, and now yes, it's Norwich, and it's their defence is on a different level of bad. But I've got a feeling that Villa won't crush Norwich because they're not in good form. I mean, yes, they could, and yes, then suddenly they might be going into the next few games with confidence. But I don't mind not having them for 36, and so the only fear for me is missing that Norwich fixture.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't mind missing them 36, but that Norwich one, like you say, it could go either way. Great fixture, but no form. You can look silly if you don't go for any, but I'm just not sure it's worth it. It would probably be a -4 for me, unless I would have a not ideal captain. And there's no way I'm going to captain a Villa player, I don't think.
But and that's the point, isn't it? Because with 4 game weeks left, if you're going to take a hit, you're literally taking a hit. Like as we've just discussed, you are taking a hit for that Norwich game, and so it's got to pay off in that Norwich game. And if it doesn't, then you've just wasted 4 points.
Just on that 38 problem in a way with Villa playing City, I think I'd look at my 38 team recently on FPL team, and it's actually quite good. So I'm not too worried. I don't think that puts me off. Like if I really thought that Watkins and Coutinho were a good -4 this week, I think I could probably survive that. Especially if they're not defensive players, they're not going to probably get a minus points in that. So I'm not too worried about that. But like you say, the fact we're free hitting in 37 means we can get one of their 2 great game weeks for free.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. Ticker defense. I haven't updated the colours, but I've moved the fixtures around. So on the right is the usual ticker with the colours, and on the left is the numbers that go into it. Didn't want to spend too much on this, but this was just more, again, another discussion on, are we tempted at all to bring in defenders? Looking at this over the next, 4 game weeks, that's all that's left. Chelsea are ranked highest on average, City second, Villa third, Liverpool fourth, so no mega surprises there. We've got coverage of all of those apart from Villa. By the way, I do kind of hope that Cancelo does get a 15-point plus to prove you and Tom wrong, because you were properly slagging him off last week, the poor guy. Ticking along with his sixes.
I was, but he, again, my memory of him, I've owned him for large periods of the last 3 seasons, and it is very rare that he gets a big return. It happens, it does happen, but and he's very steady the rest of the time, but it's very rare that he gets a double-digit return.
Fair. I wonder if he's a bit more of a bonus point magnet than maybe you're giving him credit for, but maybe not. Maybe you are on something, and maybe it is a bit of a, he looks great, he's left, right footed, he can play on both flanks, blah blah. But and obviously it is important that you can get a guaranteed spot in the City defence. But yeah, beyond that, maybe you're right. Maybe he's not actually, he's not great at shooting. Okay, quite good at dribbling, but not brilliant crosser. Not that City do crosses really too much. So it is annoying I've had to buy him back for a higher price for sure. But compared to what he was at the start of the season, it's good value.
Yeah, I just think if Trent was an 8 million midfielder, we might still have him. I think if Cancelo was a £7 million midfielder, we wouldn't have him.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Interesting though that Chelsea are number 1 on that ticker, because again, I'm just looking at Reece James and I'm looking at Chelsea's fixtures. I'm looking at what they got to play for, and I think the FA Cup final is after that Leeds game. 3 days after that Leeds game, so it's you're going to get heavy rotation in that Leeds game. You might get Reece James as right-sided centre back, but he might not play at all because they don't want to risk him. They really want him to be fully fit for the FA Cup final. But if he, how many of those fixtures are any of those players actually going to get? I mean, almost paradoxically, you might get more out of Alonso than you'll get out of Reece James from those fixtures.
Yeah. And maybe it's recency bias, but I wish I did have Alonso. He was, he's hopefully got that left wing back if they play it nailed down. If they play left back or back four, it's a disaster. But yeah, he was best player on the pitch. So many of the forums are saying, I think.
But especially with those fixtures, because if they were playing, City and Liverpool, then I think they'd be trying to find anybody else to play in the team except for Alonso. But because they're probably not going to be under the cosh too much in those games. They will want those wing backs who push really high up the pitch.
Yeah, and of course that value one is just an average of if someone played all the time. But I mean, even with Mendy, you can't, I don't think, guarantee it. So I'm certainly not going to be buying any more Chelsea assets. I'm not sure I'm going to sell Silva. He could be quite a differential. He's not got the legs to play too much, but if he's just playing centre back, Tuchel was coming out. What did he say today? I love that. 55% likely you'll play right wing back and 45% right centre back. He properly put numbers on it, which I thought was great. I mean, that suggests he is going to play tomorrow, right? So I think I've got to hold him, but yeah, I wouldn't be buying any more.
I thought my interpretation of that quote was more that he thinks he is 55% a right wing back and 45. It wasn't the chances of him playing. It was like how he sees him.
Okay.
That was my I don't know whether that's wrong, but that was my interpretation of it. But I think you're onto a winner with Thiago. I think the fact that, remember a few weeks ago you were kind of looking at it and he was missing the odd game unexpectedly, and you were super annoyed with him, and other defenders, I think like Rudiger had maybe scored that screamer.
Yeah.
But actually now I think having Thiago Silva's a bit of a touch now at this point, because I think you wouldn't transfer him out. He might miss the odd game, but he probably plays 4 out of 5 of those games, I would think.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I absolutely love it if he could get some gains back on Rudiger, because you're right. I had him for that double and he missed the wrong way round game. He played for a 2-pointer and then was benched, and then Rudiger got 6 and bonus after it. It was really annoying.
Is Rudiger still injured?
He was for the previous game, but I think he's back. I think they've said he's in training. Whether he starts tomorrow, not sure. But that would obviously
he's definitely leaving now, isn't he? So I wonder whether because they weren't playing Christensen earlier in the season, and Tuchel said, we're not playing him because we want him to sign a new contract. And all the time, Rudiger was just stood in the team like, don't look at me, I haven't signed a contract.
Right. I mean, he's surely going to shore up the defence a bit because Salah apparently was a disaster. So they get Silva, Rudiger, and whatever they play with James or Aspie back, it'll be quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's clean sheets there, hopefully.
Would you consider doing James to Alonso, or do you just think it feels too sideways and James could play and smash it?
I think if I had 2 frees, I might be tempted, but I just don't think I can because I just think there's more powerful options up midfield and attack to target.
But it's interesting though, isn't it? Because I'm considering James to James to Cash or James to Laporte, but if you just looked at it, who would you rather have, Alonso or Laporte? Again, yes, City have got a nice Dublin 36, but there's no way that Laporte is anywhere near as attacking as Alonso, is he? And they've got the same number of fixtures. Their fixtures are pretty even, really.
Yeah, I think if James was out tomorrow, he has a setback and he says he's out for the season, I'd be tempted to do Alonso, maybe even for a hit, because you get that double next week. Okay, Leeds, there's going to be a lot of rotation, but would they do a sort of pep on it instead and bring off Alonso at 60 minutes or hopefully 65 sort of thing? So it might be worth a gamble.
I don't know. I feel like in that Leeds fixture, again, if there's nothing to play for, if they are third, I feel like they could play, is it Saul at left back and then play Hudson-Odoi at right back, or
yeah.
I just think they'll really, really will rotate that Leeds game.
Okay. And then a tactic next. Same image on the left, what the numbers go into it, and on the right, so I've now put the number of double digit against fixtures for the rest of the season. The highest is Leicester and Everton with 4, which is quite interesting. I mean, the Everton fixtures come out awful with loads of red, but it is quite interesting. They've got 4 in a row in their doubles, 36 and 37. We'll have a look at 37 planned in a bit, but this just really reflects my want to know which midfielder is going to go big this week, because part of me thinks KDB is going to go big. That Leeds fixture's lush, it's bright blue and it's bold. That Spurs fixture's lush, it's at home, it's bold, it's blue. I feel like I want Son or De Bruyne. I'd probably, to do it without a hit, I'd have to sell Havertz, which is not easy because they've got a pretty good blue fixture with Everton, but it's not bold. I don't know. That's when I'm sort of torn at the moment. So I think both of those are more important than defenders. That's my quick summary of what's going on in attack.
Yeah, it's weird. This is almost like the week since I played my early wildcard and it did well. This is almost the week. I'm sure there have been other weeks, but I really feel like I'd love a wildcard this week.
Yeah, same. But you're probably going to come on to the fact that you've been pretty good at charming when the City assets banged. So yeah, when are they going to bang? And who do I get?
I really want De Bruyne. And the only way that I can really do it, and actually I say the only way, I don't actually think this is a terrible way to do it necessarily. I was a bit annoyed that Jesus started the Madrid game. And obviously I think by playing as well as he did against Watford and, getting that massive return, again, it's like, feels like points chasing, but I think he played himself into that Champions League team. And obviously they were amazing going forward, and he returned again, and their attacking was incredible. So he might miss the Leeds game and then play the Madrid game next week. But my one potential way of doing De Bruyne in would be Ronaldo down to Jesus and then Havertz up to De Bruyne. Nice. But the thing is, Ronaldo's got Brentford, but Brentford have been a much better defense. And Tom and I think mentioned that Brentford have been a good defense, and then they held Spurs, didn't they? So
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised on your bus team you've, spoiler alert, got him as captain. I wouldn't captain Ronaldo this week. No chance.
No, I know, and this is the thing. So my other move, and this is the thing. I feel like this is one of my more complex weeks recently in terms of potential options, and I think it's partly to do with the way the chips have fallen. And to excuse the pun, you've got you look at the captain choice. It's not straightforward at all this week, is it? There are so many potential good options, so many potential benching headaches, etc., etc. And so my other move could be just simple Ronaldo to Kane and captain Kane, and just very, very simple, and keep faith in the Chelsea boys. But it depends, because if Mount and Havertz look absolutely toothless against United, and maybe United win that game and maybe Ronaldo scores, then I'm not going to then want to do that. So there's there's so much to come from that Chelsea United game as to influence my decisions, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah, because you could almost reverse what you had as well. Let's say you want to keep Ronaldo, but you could do Mount and Havertz back to say Son and Cheapy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really feeling Kane. I don't know why. Who was it that was saying that although he's got a great run against Leicester, record against Leicester, that they were sort of bigging up that maybe. Well, that's right. They were saying that Kane in big games does play as a true number 9 a bit more. So if you are going to have Kane, having him 36 might be quite powerful because he will sort of stick there as a target man for counter attacks against Liverpool and Arsenal, which is a bit strange given he hasn't got the pace. But I guess he's the sort of hold up merchant to get them up the pitch. But I still just think even in that situation,
Liverpool play a really high line though, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd still think that, okay, he's going to be the one to get them up the pitch, but is he going to be the one to actually go through on goal? Surely going to be Son again.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, Son always does really well against City. I'm not sure how he does against Liverpool, but those teams that play possession football and play a high line, you'd want Son, wouldn't you? But I don't know. And the thing is, it's a bit like what we were talking about with Villa. That Leicester fixture looks so nice for Spurs. Although again, Leicester have just kept a clean sheet.
Yeah, that's the slight tarnish, isn't it, on it? Yeah.
But you would still have, if you bring Son in this week, you're still going to have him for Liverpool and Arsenal, which doesn't look great, but it's still a double. So,
but then you look at 38, and that might be influencing me too much. But that Norwich fixture is quite nice, and if you look at who you might captain in that week, that's not easy. So that is quite handy.
Yeah,
it really is tricky, isn't it, this week?
It is really tricky, but you're right. It's almost like the season comes right into focus at this point because you've so few game weeks left, and you do look at that's the other reason why I want Kane. Really, I haven't really thought too much about going back to Son. I think because it takes 2 transfers to get there, whereas I can get to Kane in 1. But yeah, I really like that Norwich fixture on 38 because, and that was the other thing that Tom and I were discussing. Players like Ronaldo and Kane, as opposed to when you're putting them up against players like, James, Havertz, Mount, even players like De Bruyne, you just know that Kane is going to play every single game for Spurs. He's just not going to miss any games. And so that's such a nice thing to be able to bank on.
Yeah, but then the easy flip of that is that they've had that for months, and they were great a month ago, but in the last few weeks they've been awful. And they've just not.
Was it a month ago? I mean, they have had two poor results, but before they were free scoring, weren't they? They were scoring 5 games. No,
but James was sort of inferring that it might be a lot more down to Doherty than we thought. Doherty, sorry, but they haven't got that. They haven't sorted their wing backs out, and they haven't got good wing backs to replace him. Maybe that's the key why they're not doing great. And that Leicester, I know they're going to have the B team out, but it would just be classic for them to do well in Europe, and then we've got to bring the B team back in, and they do quite well. They just want to keep it solid, not exert too much energy, keep it tight. I don't know if Rodgers knows how to do that really, but Spurs have been off form, so I'm not completely convinced with that either.
Yeah, it's funny. The more we talk about it, the more, I don't know why, even though you're saying negative things about it, the more it makes me think, but I can just see Tottenham scoring early in that game. And if they score early, the whole complexity of the game changes, doesn't it? So, I think I am leaning more towards that Kane move.
Okay. You got the money to do it. I was just thinking, I'm not sure if I've updated the slide later, but you got $1 million in the bank because Ronaldo to Kane's obviously quite a bit more, but that covers it. What about Everton? Obviously, they're not probably coming in before 37, but are you thinking definitely a few on the free hit? Well, 2 maybe on the free hit.
I think interesting even that on your ticker those fixtures still red. I guess it just shows how terrible Everton's attack has been. But I am thinking of just for 37. I'm not really thinking of them before that because I've got 11 doublers, or I'll either have 10 or 11 doublers without taking hits for 36. So I don't need Everton players for that. And again, it doesn't really matter who they're playing. They're still not going to be an upgrade. Even I'd rather have Spurs players playing Liverpool and Arsenal than I would any Everton player. So I don't trust Everton. I don't think they're very good. I don't trust Lampard. I don't think he really knows what he's doing there either. So I don't fear not having Everton players at all. I think at one point I was looking at Pickford, but it was just try and have doubling keepers. But I'm not too fussed about Everton at all. And I think depending on how they're doing, you know, suddenly if they do well in one of those fixtures ahead of it, I might bring in a couple of them for 37. But I haven't really thought too much about it. 37 because it's the free hit, and I know that I'm going to free hit that week. I haven't actually put too many plans together for that. Maybe that's a bit of a miss.
That's just made me cry for the fact that in 3 slides time I've got a slide on it, because although I kind of agree, I was just thinking of, or as a mark, that I can't imagine that's the reason they didn't do great with it, but I thought we could do just a quick bit of tinkering and seeing what we've got thoughts on 37, just so it doesn't come as a complete surprise, because you know it's not going to be long until blimey on that Friday night we might have to be, or Saturday, whatever it is, making a few moves to get a few price rises. So we won't spend too much time on it, but yeah, I agree broadly with Everton. I'm not going to get them in before that. I mean, I think if you didn't have Dewsbury Hall, you might be thinking about, oh, do I go him or Gordon? But you've already got that sort of fifth cheapo in there, so you're not going to need it.
436, you mean?
Yeah, or just, you know, say you did want Son or something to free up some money, that fifth midfielder you might need might be Gordon, but you've sort of already got that in Dewsbury Hall, so you're not going to go with 3, sort of with 2 cheapies, are you?
No, I mean, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'd need to. On a free hit, generally, you've got enough money to do what you want to do.
Oh yeah, on a free hit. No, I just mean now, if you wanted to
I would
do,
say,
I don't know, Havertz and Mount to Son and a cheapie, you might be tempted by Gordon, say.
I might, but I think I'd probably be more tempted to go back to Ramsey at Villa,
Yeah.
especially if I was going to do that this week with the Norwich fixture, because I
Yeah.
still think he might have one more. You know, he might even just have one more goal in him, but it might just come at the right moment for me. But and he, you know, again, it's that bias where he did well for me earlier in the season. But one thing we haven't discussed yet is obviously that the City double's now gone in for 36. And so again, that's the thing that's attractive about going the City route, whether it's Jesus, De Bruyne, Laporte, whatever. But at the moment, I've only got Cancelo, and so if I'm not going to free hit in 36, if I only go into that double with one City, I could get pretty badly burnt, I guess. But
and that is why I'm so tempted by De Bruyne, because looking at those fixtures, the fact he's got a double, okay, I know he's got this knock or managing his minutes, but he did get that manage. He was off on 57 minutes after 2 assists and 2 bonus with Watford. Okay, he played 90 last night, but this on paper looks like probably similar to what you saw when you did the magic in 25 and wildcarded and bought him in and captained him. I don't know. I would be, like you said, way more nervous captaining De Bruyne going into that 5:30 game on Saturday against Leeds, thinking, is he going to start? Is he going to start? Whereas you've no doubt with Son at Spurs. But then if I buy Son this week, it's going to be really tough to take him out next week. Although I could do it still for De Bruyne. I've got the money to go Havertz to either of those two. Part of me is thinking Havertz to Son this week, captain Son, and then Son to De Bruyne next week and captain De Bruyne.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe not captain, actually. It's probably on Salah next week, isn't it? But you know, that gives the City cover, like you say, because those fixtures are so good for City coming up.
I like that a lot, and I actually don't think De Bruyne will start the Leeds game.
Do you not?
No, I think they'll bring in Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. And
have you listened to Luke's 25-minute in the car pod?
No, I haven't yet, actually.
It's really good. He summarises, I think, the top 4 as, no surprises, Cancelo's the best option, you know, rotation, you know, sort of risk-free as a measure. Laporte second, and then I think it was De Bruyne, and then I can't remember now. He sort of did a top 4. Who would it have been?
It's tricky, that Leeds game, though, isn't it? Because again, if that was, I don't know, even if it was somebody like Burnley or something, then you know, obviously the league title is so tight. If he rested De Bruyne for Leeds and they, you know, drew 2-2 or something, and they lost 1-0 in the last minute or something, he would be absolutely gutted. I mean, obviously every City fan would be gutted, and the league would probably be gone. But so that's the only thing, isn't it? If the league wasn't particularly tight, I don't think De Bruyne, you know, I'd be almost certain De Bruyne wouldn't play that game, given kind of the Madrid game and then Madrid next week. So
yeah, but it would that therefore mean he just wouldn't? Would he not just start him again and just pull him off after?
That's what I mean. As in, they can't afford to lose. They can't afford to drop any points, can they? So
yeah, but you just said you don't think he will start.
No, I mean, that's the only thing that makes me think he might, is just how important each one of these games is now. But again, could he do I always used to think Ferguson for United used to make this mistake too often, where he would try and rest players, and instead of doing the reverse of, because I remember one particular game in the FA Cup against Villa where I think we were 2-1 down, and he brought on like Keane, Van Nistelrooy, and Scholes in the last 30 minutes, and we won. I think we won 3-2. But he used to do that sometimes, and it didn't used to work. And you thought, well, if he'd started those players, we would have been 5-0 up at half time, and then he could have taken those 3 players off on like 55, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Again, this is the thing though, isn't it? We just don't know. So it's a flip of a coin whether De Bruyne starts that game or not, and it's just whether you're willing to take that risk, especially to captain him, because he could come on and get 2 points, couldn't he?
It's true. Well, that is kind of why I added this slide last minute, which is the rest in between games, and it does highlight that the City after this week have actually got more rest than Liverpool. They've got 3 oranges, whereas Liverpool are in their red zone now, so they've got really quick turnarounds. And obviously, City no FA Cup final, so after 36 they might have a much clearer run. But you're right, it would be too risky, I think, to captain De Bruyne this week unless you really did accept the massive risk with it.
Yeah, and if you're not going to captain him, do you
really need it?
For it? Yeah. I really like your plan of Son in this week, and then you can assess, and obviously if everything's all still really cool with De Bruyne, you can bring him in for the double and then captain him then. Or, have him in captain Salah.
Okay. When we do captaincy, I must remember to ask for your top 3, because I think it's really tight between De Bruyne, Spurs asset, and Salah. We've not even talked about Salah yet.
No.
I just thought
Salah against the second best defence in the league.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, just going back to that we didn't really talk about the colours of this. I mean, you're saying that City game might be tricky, and maybe it'd be 2-2. Maybe that blooming Newcastle game would be tricky. Early kickoff. Newcastle have been great at home. Liverpool looks like they've won 2-0 tonight. I have no idea who came on or off or whatever, but that's a solid start.
Jota, I think Jota was rested, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I don't know. He probably came on though, didn't he? When because I looked just before we started, and it was 0-0 on like 55 minutes, so they must have scored really soon after that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was an own goal and Mane.
Was it? Okay.
I just put this together quickly for any viewers that are on Wildcard. I just popped in FPL review. What's the best Wildcard? I don't know if this is with any transfers allowed till the end of the season, but it doesn't have a bench boost, for example. And I thought we could just quickly pick any holes in it. What do you think?
Wow, I was just thinking how nice it looks.
I mean, Tavares is a bit
weird, good, don't they?
Yeah, but I suppose he's just that maverick attacking, gets you a double Arsenal defence option.
I definitely wouldn't have Reece James on wildcard.
You'd have Alonso, say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would. Or Laporte, even, because that's the one thing about this team. It's only got one City player in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe that actually hadn't updated with the 36 double in there. That's true. And Pookie, people are banging on about quite a bit, but I don't know, just not feeling that massively. I know they've got a double, but the fixtures on the right I put on there. This is the attacking ticker. It's not looking too great.
This very much looks like a team that's wildcarding to bench boost, doesn't it? I mean, when you've got
Pookie didn't put that in, but yeah, true. Because that's true. Your bench fodder is Gordon,
Tavares, and Pookie, I guess.
Yeah, maybe Richarlison, some of it. Yeah, that's true. Triple Liverpool, fair enough. I mean, Maddison as well. Yeah, he could do something with Leicester, but the rotation's still going to be rife with that. In fact, we haven't even thought.
And why would you have Ramsdale as why would you have Ramsdale and Schmeichel? Because Ramsdale's expensive, and yet I don't think I would play Ramsdale over maybe on last day of the season. Maybe they're just having, but Leicester have got Southampton, which isn't horrendous. So
yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't play Ramsdale over Schmeichel in any of those remaining fixtures.
What we're saying then is don't go for this team. No, you are right though. Saka having pens is pretty cool, so he's definitely in there. Hopefully he's going to get over this knock. You've got the Villa coverage.
Saka's been amazing for me since I brought him in. Was it 28 or 29? He was part of my -16, I think. He's been absolutely brilliant. And Yeah, I mean, if he does get over his injury, people are talking about him for captain, aren't they? Because West Ham haven't got any defenders left.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't captain Saka.
Agreed. I always get a bit worried with that. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was a Norwich v City fixture where Norwich didn't have a defence and everyone thought City were going to turn up and bang 7 past them or whatever, but it didn't happen. And, it just got everyone more resolute in defence. So just right, everyone just keep it really tight. We haven't got any defenders and, playing like 3 left backs in the back 4. It didn't come to that. I think actually that was a really close game, like 3-2 or something. So I don't read too much into that. They haven't got any defenders, but we haven't actually spoken about Europe as well. The other thing happening tomorrow night is obviously Leicester playing and West Ham.
Yeah,
so that could affect things a little bit.
It's funny, isn't it, how those West Ham players, they were so essential at the start of the season. After game week 2 or whatever, everyone was like, I would have to have 3 West Ham players, and now no one's.
Antonio, you'll make Cresswell.
Cresswell, I love a bit of Cresswell, but no one's really looked at them, have they? Since Antonio got that red card, and I never went back to him. He didn't. I don't think he scored another goal since then.
Yeah.
Mad.
Okay. So I just thought we'd have a quick look at free hit 37, so that when we get to that stage, at least we've had a quick discussion about it. I just knocked up a team that I thought was pretty template, and it's basically got what I think are essential players apart from 2 defenders. I'm not sure, with 10 mil in the bank to spend. So that is Pope and Pickford in goal, Cash, Robbo, Cancelo at the back with 2 other defenders I don't know. Coutinho, Zaha, Gordon, all with doubles. Salah and Son, which are kind of covering explosive single game week options, and then Richarlison, Watkins with Mateta benched. All of those are doublers up front. How close or far off do you think that is?
No, it looks good. Not to get too kind of bogged down right at the start, but again on the goalkeepers, especially in a double, is it just in case one of them gets injured?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Still have a doubler in the other.
Yeah, because I'm not mega short of cash here.
Can you imagine that if you had like Pope and then he got like a shoulder injury in training the day before the first game or something?
Yeah, and you've got Newcastle's backup keeper or something on your bench for 3.9. Like, you just wish you'd spend the money. And that's, I think, kind of in my head, as I think was saying, I don't know if they got burnt with having a crappy bench, but I think they were doing the classic, like, you're onto a free hit winner because you have 0.5 to 0 in the bank. That's a good sign that everything's good. But if you don't need to and you got 2 mil in the bank, then fine, or pump it back into your bench. So
yeah.
But the teams that are doubling are weird, aren't they? So you are, I think, going to have quite a lot of money here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is a bit of a shame that City's double didn't go into 37, isn't it? That would have been perfect for us.
It really would, yeah.
For other people thinking of doing it. But interesting that you have got like a few singlers in there. I guess the likes of Salah, Liverpool's fixture's pretty sweet. You can't go without him. But
Wade Southampton, and Son has got Burnley at home. Yeah, that's blue and bold. But no Chelsea. That's Leicester. I can't remember where that fits in with their schedule, but probably safe to avoid that unless they go, if Mount or Havertz look like they're essential.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because I know, with your, you had a few iterations of your maths on this, but free hit 37 versus your normal team in 37, because Liverpool have got a really nice fixture. City's fixture isn't horrendous. We just said West Ham might not have any defenders. Chelsea have got a decent fixture. Kind of the teams that we've got have actually got decent fixtures, so it could be a massive. Obviously, 36 and 37, especially with the City doubling 36, going to be massive swings, aren't there?
Yeah, true. So you're sort of saying, well, we're only going to gain. I mean, looking at this, and put the goalkeeper in brackets, but you're only really going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players of your 11 that are different to what we might have, but still, those are 7 doublers versus our probable 7 singlers.
So, yeah, but again, the players you're replacing, like say you didn't have Son and you had Coutinho instead. I know you've got both of them here, but if Son got 12 points against Burnley and Coutinho got a couple of 2s, yes, you've got a doubler, but you haven't got a doubler who's as explosive as the singler. So I don't know. It's some of it's luck, isn't it? But and you feel like you have to give yourself you have to buy the ticket to the lottery with the doubler. But
yeah, I think there's a good amount of risk in here. Like Zaha, okay, most people on free hit will have him, but not many people. that's probably the biggest risk. I mean, those fixtures aren't great actually. Away to Everton, away to Villa. Palace have been pretty indifferent, but I think that's the kind of risk I'm happy to go with. I don't think I'm going to chuck in Vidra or something in there, or maybe Ramsey, but
Vidra, why would you have it? Isn't Vidra Burnley?
they got a double though.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm looking down at the Tottenham fixture for some reason, yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing. Burnley's fixtures are horrendous, aren't they? I'm not sure I think with Pope, again, you're buying that ticket to the fact that he just makes loads of saves, because I don't think Burnley are going to keep clean sheets in those games.
True. I actually think here I'd be possibly playing Pickford, but yeah, true. I've put it as if I'm playing Pope.
Yeah. I think I would, have a little punt on Pickford that game week as well. He's always got a massive error in him, but sometimes he plays a blinder, doesn't he? So
yeah,
and those two fixtures are pretty sweet.
Yeah. Anyway, we can look at this maybe next week as we get close to the time, but it won't be long tour on this.
Yeah, indeed. I probably do need to go back to planning a 36 free hit as well now that City have got the double, and just see what that
could be. Just to check the maths as well. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the only thing with 36, we can go back to it quickly, is that I just remember you would have to fit in a lot. You want a lot of premiums. You'd want Son or Kane. You'd want De Bruyne or Sterling. Say Chelsea have got one. Liverpool, you can't have them all. You'd be just thinking which are the most important, like 3 premiums. It's going to be quite tricky.
You couldn't have them all, but I guess you've got a much better chance of having maybe one more premium if you go, say, super cheap on your last 2 bench spots, and risk going super cheap on your goalkeeper. You've got the chance to potentially get there. It's obviously, it's a wild card for 1 week, isn't it? So you get the chance to go all out on your first 11.
Yeah. We'll try and find time to look at that before the weekend, because running the maths quickly would be quite good, just to check it's not now swung because of that City fixture. I can't remember what week I put. I don't think I put it in either. I think I assumed City just didn't have a double, just to sort of not bias it either way. But now we know. It would be good to check.
Yeah, but the other thing that's really difficult though about City in any given game week is just trying to pick
true.
the right one.
Exactly.
There weren't many people who were like, "Oh, I'm definitely getting Jesus for that Watford game."
All of this is looking at teams, but then it then doesn't pinpoint what to do within that team. And like you say, that the annoying thing about Jesus is, had he been benched at Real, and I think if you haven't listened to Luke's thing, you've hit a nail on the head of his thoughts, was that he played himself into that Real game with his Watford performance. So it just shows how hard it is to predict Pep.
Yeah,
it just changes on them, their performance and the opposition, and how on earth you're going to get into his head with that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people saying though that the most nailed on are like KDB and Foden. I mean, Foden
was probably 4th actually in that list. Yeah. And I think Gianni's going Rafinha to Foden this week.
Yeah, it's funny. I have similar feelings about Foden as I do about Cancelo, where I know he's a fantastic player. I know he can return, but I don't feel like he's massively punished me from. I have had him a little bit this season, and he was fine. He did okay, but when I got rid of him, and I can't even really remember when that was. It may even been on that wild card, but he hasn't really punished me since then. I haven't noticed him getting any massive returns.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think he performs that well, or from a fantasy perspective, when he's playing that false 9 role. I think he's much better when he's just on the left, and yet he's been in that position quite rarely in the last few game weeks.
Yeah. Okay, captaincy. This, on the face of it, suggests Salah, because he was top of the captain poll on Scout on, I think it was his Monday night. I did this, and he's slightly ahead on RMT, although it is very close. Top. Well, the top of this is, it's not like there's 2 or 3 really high up. You've only got a point difference between the top 5. Although Fernandes, blimey, I'm going to get him back in. So yeah, what do you think?
It is Brentford, so well, this is the thing. It's mad. Some of these algorithms, you've got to be able to spot the outlier.
Well, what do you think is the top 3 though? I mean, you putting Ronaldo in the top 3 still for captain this week?
No, I wouldn't. I guess that's a bit of a romantic pick, just because obviously I had the Norwich return, the Norwich hat trick. Then he obviously got a goal in the 3-1 against Arsenal. Could have had a penalty as well. I mean, we could beat Brentford and Ronaldo could be right at the centre of it, and I expect him to play. So I don't think Ronaldo's a terrible shout, but I think if I had, I think I would captain Ronaldo over Salah just because I am a bit spooked by those Newcastle numbers, and obviously they're still in the Champions League, still in the FA Cup. This might be the game Salah misses. You don't know. I mean, people expected him to potentially be benched last week, and he wasn't. But yeah, I think again, maybe this is the thing. Maybe because Klopp will know how Newcastle are performing as well. Maybe he goes with his front line, his perfect front line. Like Diaz, Jota, Salah, or Diaz, Mane, Salah, and then tries to get an early goal and actually break them down.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I just Brentford at home seems better. Is Salah away at Newcastle or is it home? I think it's away.
Yeah, St James's Park early kickoff as well, which shouldn't influence us, but puts us off a bit maybe.
No.
I mean, you might be on something with Ronaldo. His home form has been great. I mean, the hat-trick was at home, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
Brentford have been very tight, and I just see them now as this kind of analytics, like complete nerdly managed, and they're going to just find a way of nullifying United and then trying to do them on the counter. I don't know. Yeah, if you've got him, it's going to be hard to sell.
They absolutely could do that. I just think it's that thing. It's Ronaldo at home at Old Trafford, and there's going to be a big outpouring of emotion for him. And
true.
I don't know. Again, as I say, it's that romantic pick, but I think it's just because a lot of the other options, because there's so much split now. Like there are a lot of options here, but I think they've all got a potential downside.
Yeah.
Like Spurs have obviously had 2 bad games in a row. They could have another one. Villa have had no form at all. Yes, they've got the best fixture, but they've got no form at all. And Coutinho's been, largely off the boil by all accounts. Salah's got a tough defense in Newcastle. Fernandes is Fernandes at the moment. I wouldn't even think about it. De Bruyne could be rested.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tricky. And that's why, again, I kind of lean towards just saying, right, I'm going to do Reece James if he doesn't start tomorrow, if he plays right centre back for Cash or Laporte, and then just sticking the armband on Ronaldo and just ignoring Spurs for this week again. And I don't know. It's very, very tough this week, but there's a lot riding on that Man United Chelsea game, as we've said.
Fair enough. I think I split 3 ways between Salah, Son, and De Bruyne, but what order is so tough. I don't know. So I think that's where I'm at.
And why Son instead of Kane? Because I feel like Leicester defend quite deep and then try and hit on the break. And Kane's record against Leicester is amazing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, true. I mean, Kane's record, I'm pretty sure, against the next 3 opposition is better than Son in all the games. But I think that might be just because he's played more games than Son, and maybe even his percentage, it's still better. But yeah, true. That is me not looking too much into Spurs fixtures or tactics and some genius thing there. I think it's more just I've been burnt with Son so bad, not owning him for that period, that I think he has just got that higher pitch position. He's the one with pace. He's going to go through. Okay, Kane's on pens, but also he's a bit more expensive. And I suppose actually, for me to get to Kane, it's a hit. Similar reverse for you, isn't it? To get back to a midfielder, it's a hit.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the ease of getting him.
There's no Havertz or Mount or anyone else in this list from Chelsea, is there? So they've got Everton this week.
Yeah, Everton away. Mount's just about on the bottom of here.
Oh, there you go. But nothing on Rate My Team. Interesting, because that Everton fixture, if Chelsea were in decent form, then that looks like a good fixture for them, doesn't it? So
yeah,
very, very tricky. I just am not going to nail my colours to the mast on that until after the United Chelsea game. But as we've seen in the last few weeks, if you nail the captain this week, you'll fly up the ranks.
Yeah, and just brutally looking at the colours again, and this has happened before. That's why I think I am doubtful on Salah. I think maybe I would put Salah third of my 3 there, just because early kickoff shouldn't come into it too much, but that's a little bit of it. The fixture is not as good colour-wise. Liverpool, looking at the numbers that go into this, their XG is way worse away, and Newcastle's XGC at home is decent. That's why that fixture is white compared to City's and Tottenham blue.
Yeah.
But City, you're right. Who do you pick out of that lot? You can't be sure of De Bruyne, so maybe that does go back to what you said, that Son is the good option. Okay, the form's not great, but the fixture's good, form can be bred from fixtures. You know, someone's going to play. So yeah.
But then does that not lean you towards Coutinho though?
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe.
Because again, if he goes off big time, then it'll be just like, was it game week 28? In fact, was it 28 where as free hit and he had Coutinho, I think.
Yeah, I mean that was a double, but yeah, it was 23 points or whatever. But those were 2 plum fixtures, true. Yeah, and Norwich is a plum fixture.
And everyone was sleeping on Cash because he got 29, which was massive. But luckily, nobody had him.
Yeah, I had Digne before that. Got the wrong fullback. It's ridiculous.
Pain, pure pain.
Right. So this is what I'm looking like this week. I've got loads in the bank, 4.5 mil, so I can go from Havertz to anyone, or obviously upgrade any position quite significantly. 1 free transfer, got free hit left. Lots of potentials here. This is not all of them, but anything from roll, super conservative, which I haven't ruled out. Having 2 for 2 transfers, 36 would be pretty awesome. Upgrading maybe Share to even Trent, maybe just double up on that Liverpool defence with Matip or Van Dijk. Havertz to any one of Son, Foden or De Bruyne, and maybe something really crazy like upgrading Martinelli and Wood, who are pretty dead spots, and Martinelli's a bit of a problem for 36. Obviously you've dealt with that recently. I think I texted the wrong one on WhatsApp, but I think I texted that I would upgrade Wood to Watkins. I can't afford that actually. It would be Havertz, Martinelli and Wood to Foden, Son and Nketiah for -8, which is okay, but I think I have gone off Nketiah a little bit. I think that's maybe a bit short term, and I think someone said like 1 bad game and Lacazette could be sniffing about. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and their fixtures aren't amazing either, are they? So Saka, I feel like, is the only one worth having for Arsenal at the moment. Everything good goes through him, doesn't it? But I mean, I find it interesting that you would have Broja in the team and not be thinking about how can you do anything that gets Broja out of the team, whether it's back to the bench or transfers out. And when you've got 4.5 in the bank, I mean, you could go from Broja to Jesus. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that there are you could do Broja to Watkins, couldn't you?
True.
And then
yeah.
But then I guess if you're going to, you would probably do Wood to Watkins, wouldn't you, and just put Broja back on the bench?
Yeah, true. Yeah. But that sort of thing
because Broja just has not done anything.
True.
I mean, he scored that goal in the FA Cup, I think, that made most people think I won't sell him, but he just hasn't done anything in FPL for a long time.
Yeah, that Palace fixture is red, although they have conceded quite a lot of goals away, or high point scores. So, yeah, it's probably his last good fixture actually, because after that it's pretty nasty.
And this is the thing: he's so bad that, I mean, he's a good player. He's a good player, but he's so bad as an FPL asset this season that I don't think any fixture is good for him. Even if he had Norwich, I'd be worried about him. I mean, maybe not. I would play him if he had Norwich, but I would be trying to do everything to not have Broja in your first 11.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I also look at a few other cracks like Kulu has not been doing much, and there was chat about him maybe trying to be the Doherty replacement at wing back, and Kulu to Son would be really nice, which I could do. I think actually I might be a bit tight on that one.
Yeah, I don't think you can make, because a lot of your plans involve Havertz out, all but 2 of them. But I don't think you can do anything about Havertz. There's probably no point even thinking about it until you see him if he plays against United. And if he doesn't play against United, you think, well, he's got much more chance of playing Everton, right? But if he does play against United and he does well, then you're again thinking with recency bias, I can't get rid of him.
I think that's the worst case scenario. Havertz not playing or being benched and coming on, that'd be a nightmare, because you just think, like you say, is he then? That's his rest done. But he's had his rest hopefully a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I hope that does nothing.
They need to. I do think they need to put a marker down in that United game as well, and they need to try and turn their form around a bit. So I think he'll play his strongest team against United and try and just say, right, that's it, that's 3rd place done, and then he can rest players ahead of the FA Cup. But yeah, I think the issue, I got rid of Martinelli last week and was pretty pleased with that, with his benching again. So I think you could lose any one of or 2 of Broja, Martinelli, Wood, Share, and just strengthen the first team. I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Kulusevski yet. And if he does go to right wing back, maybe he'll play like Doherty and get 12 pointers.
Yeah, true. So
but
say that again.
he's not getting the clean sheets, right? Because he's
But you'd be obviously most worried about the bench, the three on the bench and Broja, and you think one or two of those going is maybe more important than a powerful captain.
Yeah, especially when you've got 4.5 in the bank. But I'm just trying to think, is there not a way to get to, because you could get to you go Martinelli to Coutinho, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And then bench Broja, captain Coutinho, take it. Because again, with if you're trying to get into the top 100k, you are chasing, and Coutinho captain is a big move.
Yeah, I don't massively buy into the I'm behind and therefore I should take mega risks. I get it. Maybe there's a level of risk that I'm not willing to go. I think that is quite risky. I think if I bought Coutinho in, I'd still probably captain Salah and just having Coutinho's 40% EO might be quite nice. But I know what you mean.
Fair enough. But I'm just saying, as in even getting rid of one of these players doesn't mean you can't get a differential.
Yeah, fair.
You can't get a good captaining, because you could go. I don't think you can do Broja to Watkins and Martinelli up, can you?
No, but I could. If you really wanted to go in Villa, you could go Martinelli to Ramsey.
Yeah. Could you do? You might be able to do Wood to Watkins and Martinelli to Coutinho.
Yeah. The only thing with any of those sort of moves, though, i.e. putting money into my bench or Broja, is it makes it really tricky to get any City next week.
Yeah.
Which, I suppose I'm not going to really know whether that's important until I know about KDB and stuff, and maybe Foden is the option. But I know I've been burnt before for sure by prioritising future game weeks more than this one, but that would lead me down a path that would be really hard to get City in next week. So that's why I kind of like someone like Havertz to Son, because then I know my money's just switching between those captain spots and I can, put the armband on someone powerful.
Yeah.
Really,
have a look at it. I mean, could you do Havertz to Son and then Wood to Watkins to just get a little bit of Villa coverage? Or
don't think so. No. Villa, what have they got next week? Yeah, they got a double, right? But it's not that great. Yeah, Liverpool and Palace. No, sorry, Burnley and Liverpool.
You could do James. You could do James down to cash, which gives you cash and cash.
Yeah.
The -8 could be James down to cash, Havertz to Son, and Wood to Watkins.
Yeah, that's true. -8 though.
-8, and Reece James plays right wing back against Everton and absolutely annihilates them.
Yeah, I mean that's just small change for you, Mr. -16. But you're right. There is some crazy upgrades there possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of which,
take a -64.
Just to pretend your team's hacked instead afterwards when it all goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So you put your fear as making the wrong transfer. Come on, Nick.
Wasn't that your fear? Oh no, yours was captain.
Yeah, I put mine as captain, but you're right. When I did see that, I was like, yeah, it does pretty much sum up how this podcast might go.
Forget your password. Yeah, I do you know what? We spent a while on yours, and I've just been saying that we need to wait for the Chelsea United game. There's not a huge amount. I think I've been through in the pod kind of most of my potential options. So I don't think it's probably not a good.
Yeah,
it's probably not a good spending of 5 or 10 minutes me just going through all the potential options.
Dewsbury Hall, though, is a bit weird. You're slagging off Broja. Do you not think?
I know, and that's the thing. So my plans do involve me. Most of my plans involve me trying to get Dewsbury Hall out of the team, to be honest.
Okay.
So the only one that I think doesn't is that Ronaldo to Kane move.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And sorry, I just realised I didn't put your correct in the bank there, so let's just sort that out. So you got 1 million in the bank, yeah. So obviously upgrading Dewsbury Hall just for one free transfer is tricky. Unless you did something like Ramsey.
I don't think. I mean, it's a little bit like you with Broja, where I don't think I would get rid of Dewsbury Hall just because he is that 4.4 mil player. He's got a really nice double in 36, which I think I would just play him for. And But if I upgraded, I've been looking at some things where I could do like Reece James down to cash and then Broja up to, or it might be, I think it's Broja up to Watkins. I think that is just about affordable, I think. But I think what it means is I then can't, because I have a potential plan to maybe go Ronaldo down to Jesus next week and then Havertz up to De Bruyne. I think I'm 0.1 short of that next week if I bring in Villa players this week.
Right.
So there's that. That's the lovely thing about using those sites is that, again, if you weren't using those sites, you'd have no idea how close it was on those things. And there's certain times this season where I haven't made moves that I think would be really, really nice because I could see that it meant I couldn't do something next week or the week after. But yeah, I think if it wasn't for the Madrid game next week, I'd like to do that move this week. Because I feel like I am chasing because I really want to get inside the top 1K. And actually, if I do drop down to 3K or 4K or 5K or whatever, it's not the end of the world. Whereas I feel like I can take a few more risks now at this point to just try and get into the top 1K. So I think I'm something like 70 points ahead of the top 10K. So I think I'm feeling pretty secure in there now.
Nice, yeah, it's amazing.
And I think I'm 1 point off the top 1K.
I think I know the answer to this question then. So is there more likely you would roll a transfer this week or take a -4?
Much more likely that I'd take a -4, I think.
What about roll versus a -8?
Yeah, I think I would. I just, those -8s are so painful when the game week starts and you check your rank and the -8s just dropped you. And then when it starts badly and you're like, this is going to be horrendous. And luckily I haven't had too many of those game weeks this season, but
yeah, I'm just thinking even what you'd do with a -8. I mean, you could deal with Dewsbury Hall, James, let's say some bad news with that, and Broja. What you could do, Broja to Watkins. Things you haven't got much money, have you? So you'd need a cash cow in those moves.
Yeah, I mean the cash cow probably would be James down to cash.
Right.
Again with the pun. I think it's like James down to cash, and then I could do like Havertz to Coutinho, and then as I say, I mean most of my moves involve Chelsea players, and they obviously have been disappointing. I brought a couple of them in, and they've been disappointing, and James has been disappointing for 4 or 5 weeks. So naturally, my brain is saying get rid of Chelsea, but they could play really well against United, and suddenly I'm thinking I'm definitely there's no way I'm going to get rid of them. So
what we're saying, we're doing an 1.5-hour podcast on Friday after the Man U game.
we could try and do a quick one. We'll have to see how we get on, but we could do one on captaincy and transfers on Friday and just see.
Could do. I think I'm on my 4th yawn, so we have got here luckily.
I think I caught 2 of them.
Right.
It's while I was in full flow, full monologue.
But yeah, it's unsurprisingly quite a long one, although we'll cut out probably at least 5 minutes of technical stuff, and hopefully you've been actually able to hear
5 minutes of me monologuing.
Yeah. Cut out the yawns as well. Okay, anything you want to add, Nick? No,
just we obviously didn't get as many views on the Ali one because we had to classify it as 18 and over, unfortunately. But just a big thank you to everyone who is listening, and please do like and share and comment on the videos and subscribe if you are enjoying what we're putting out. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening and watching, and we're going to try and start putting these into podcasts as well. So hopefully it'll make it easier to listen to. But thank you for sticking with us. We're enjoying it.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
I think you could actually.
It's beautiful. No, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.